How's it going? Welcome back to another video. And now before we get into the nitty gritty of the software, we're just gonna simply open up Premiere Pro and we're gonna talk about keyboard shortcuts. Now, keyboard shortcuts are a super important thing to learn when you're getting into editing. Now, simply put, keyboard shortcuts are a combination of keys that make up a certain action. For example, a common one that you likely use every day is Command or Control C and Control V, which is copy and paste. Even spacebar is a keyboard shortcut. To pause and play a video, you hit spacebar. So what we're doing today is we're going to talk about certain combinations of keys on your keyboard that we can use to speed up your editing inside of Premiere Pro. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to share with you the ones that I most frequently use and the ones that I think are most important for you to know as you're getting into editing inside of Premiere Pro for the first time. So I'm just going to open up my Premiere Pro application. I'm not going to go through the interface yet. I'm just covering keyboard shortcuts. You don't have to open yours right now. You could just open your notepad and take notes. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now I'm going to open up Premiere Pro here. All right, so here I don't have any footage or anything. Don't get confused or get overwhelmed by this interface. We're not going through this yet. We will, you'll understand everything. For now, just focus on my mouse and what I'm gonna be doing here. So first, we're gonna go up to Edit, right up here, top left. We're gonna click on that and we're gonna come down to this tab right here that says Keyboard Shortcuts. Now, a keyboard shortcut, to access keyboard shortcuts, you can click Control-Alt-K. However, right now I'm just showing you how to get there manually. So click Keyboard Shortcuts, and this pop-up will pop up right here. Now, if you're interested in my keyboard shortcuts, the set of keyboard shortcuts that I'm going to be running you through in this video, I named it Dylan Reynolds CTS, and these are my custom keyboard shortcuts. This is the pop-up that you come to edit your own keyboard shortcut. So if I wanted to make B my cut tool, my razor tool, which basically cuts a clip, I can just come here, type in razor tool. It's here and it shows me that the keyboard shortcut's B. But let's say it was D, I could just click X and then I just type in where I want it. So I want it to be B. So I just type in B and now my razor tool is set to keyboard shortcut B. So it's as simple as that. That's how you create your own custom keyboard shortcuts. Now I'm gonna just simply import a clip. Not gonna show you how to do that yet because we're gonna have a whole section on that. So I don't wanna confuse you. And then when I have my clip in my timeline, I'm going to show you all the keyboard shortcuts and what they do. So the first keyboard shortcut that I'm gonna cover, and the most important, and likely you already know this one, is spacebar. And what spacebar does, if you look at the Premiere Pro, when I have a clip in my timeline and I click spacebar, it plays the video. When I click spacebar again, it pauses the video. If you ever watch YouTube videos and you use the spacebar to pause and play your video there, it's the exact same thing in here. Now the next keyboard shortcut is plus and minus. So plus and minus, if you click minus, it makes your clip zoom out so you can see much more of the timeline. And just so you know, all these tracks here, this is considered a timeline. And this right here is considered a clip. So basically we zoom out and our clip gets smaller. It zooms out of the timeline. And when you click plus, it zooms into the timeline. So if you're editing audio, for example, and you want to really get up close and see what that audio looks like, that waveform, this is a waveform, you can go ahead and click plus on your keyboard and zoom all the way in so you could see that waveform. And then when you're done, you could zoom all the way out. A big part of editing is cutting parts of the clip that you do not need. And you need to access the blade tool or the razor tool in order to cut a clip. So how do you do that? With my keyboard shortcuts, you simply click keyboard shortcut B, as I showed you how to set that, how to customize that yourself. And then I access the razor tool. I just hover over the clip. I'm actually gonna zoom in a bit with plus, and I can just cut the clips here. But now how do I get back to my regular cursor? Well, that's the next keyboard shortcut, and that's keyboard shortcut A. Now, I don't want to confuse you, but if you're not following along with my custom keyboard shortcuts, I'm just telling you, if you're using Premiere Pro's native keyboard shortcuts, you click C for the blade tool, and you can click V to get back to the cursor. Again, just to repeat, not to confuse you, my keyboard shortcuts, which you could download below, are going to be B for blade and A for your cursor. Now, the next keyboard shortcut that I use very often and I find is incredibly efficient to use to speed up my workflow is I and O, the keyboard shortcut I and O. So basically what it does is let's say I don't want any of this video except just this clip right here. I only want to export and save this clip. So what I can do is I can go to the beginning right there. I can put my playhead right at the beginning of the clip, and I can click keyboard shortcut I, and I can go to the end of that clip right there, and I could click keyboard shortcut O, and now any actions I do, rendering, saving, exporting, it will only export or save inside of these inside this box here, and that's called an in and out point. Keyboard shortcut I and O. So now if I want to go up file, export, media, which we'll cover later, it will only export this area here. That's really good if sometimes I find myself often only wanting to render certain parts or certain clips when I'm editing, and the I and the O, in and out point keyboard shortcuts, are very, very efficient, because if you don't use that, you have to manually come over here, drag, drop, and all that, and it's just a lot more time consuming, not necessarily one time, but it adds up over time. So now let's get rid of this. All you do is you come right here to these three dots, you right click, you come clear in and out, click that, and it'll disappear. So that's how you get rid of the in and out points. Another one of my favorite keyboard shortcuts that I did set customized to me is called ripple delete. So let's say I have these clips right here, and now I have an empty gap. So I'm playing the video and I have now this empty gap. Well, instead of highlighting all that footage and dragging and dropping over here, moving it manually, what I can do is I just click in between those two clips, the empty space. I click keyboard shortcut R, and it ripple deletes, which means it will delete that empty space, bringing those clips together, saving me a lot of time. Now we're going to talk about time remapping. Another word for this is speed ramping. Again, this is something we're going to cover later. However, if you want to speed ramp, it's a big, long process. You have to come here, right click, time remapping, speed. You have to play with keyframes. I don't want to confuse you right now. So instead of doing that, what I set it to is a keyboard shortcut J. So all I do is I highlight the clip, I click on J, and it instantly pops up the speed duration, the clip speed area. So I don't have to deal with any time remapping, speed remapping, speed of the clip, reversing the clip. All of that I can access just by clicking keyboard shortcut J. Now I could slow down the clip to 50%. I can speed it up to 300%. I could reverse the clip, and then I could just click OK. And you can only access that is if you manually set it yourself or you download my custom keyboard shortcuts. Okay, so now we're going to talk about another keyboard shortcut that saves a lot of time. So the next keyboard shortcut is Command Z. So let's say I make an error like this, where I just deleted some of this clip because I moved this clip forward. All you do is you can click Command Z, or if you're on a PC, Control Z, and it will just redo that error. So you start from scratch. So let's say I do this, I have this, I have this, this here, this here, this here. Now I just made a bunch of mistakes. I don't know what just happened. Well, I could just go Command Z until it is back to how I wanted it before the mistake happened. Now, another keyboard shortcut is Alt, which all you do is click Alt, you click the clip, and you drag up, and it copies this clip. So that's the easiest way to do it. The other way is Command C and Command V, which is copy and paste. However, when you do that, it messes up your other clip. It will paste itself over other clips. So I'm going to click Command Z to go back. So the way to do this error-free is by clicking Alt and then dragging up on the clip, and that will copy another version of the same clip. Now we have two more keyboard shortcuts to go over. The next one is nesting. Now basically, let's say I'm going to click Alt, drag, Alt, drag, Alt, drag. So now I just made a bunch of copies of this. So let's say these are all separate different clips, and my timeline's just looking crazy here, right? It's stressing me out. I want to make all this into one clip like here. How do I do that? Well, I nest the clip together. Basically, I make another clip made up of all four of these. Now, a way you do that is you would highlight all these, right click, come up to nest, and then you would have to nest the sequence how you want it. My way, and the way I set my custom keyboard shortcuts to do, is dragging over all of them, highlighting clips. You simply click keyboard shortcut N. Nest sequence, yes, okay. and now it's all nested. So if I double click into this, it'll take me to that nested sequence right here where all those 4 clips are still here. But in my main timeline, it's right there and it looks real good. And now my timeline looks nice and neat. So that's another really, really amazing keyboard shortcut to save time, especially because nesting sequences, there's a lot of steps in doing that. So just by simply clicking your keyboard shortcut N and you're able to nest it, it's a huge time saver. Now, one of my editing jobs, I have to edit long form content, 15, sometimes 30 minutes long. And when I'm doing that and I'm looking for a certain mistake, I don't want to sit there watching it at regular speed. So what do? Well, it's simple. All you need to do is click keyboard shortcut L and it'll speed up your playhead. So you see how it's speeding up? I could click it again and it'll go even faster and even faster if I click it again. That is how I call it speed sifting. So to make your editing process more efficient, let's say I'm looking for one small error and I don't need to be watching it at regular speed. I could just click L and it will play through that very quickly. And let's say, oh, okay, the error is there. So I hope that all made sense. I hope you guys understand and took notes of those keyboard shortcuts. Again, go ahead down below in the description. Make sure you download my custom keyboard shortcuts and then set them yourself inside of Premiere Pro. And remember that these are really important to learn these keyboard shortcuts. These are the most common keyboard shortcuts I myself use and that I think are the most important when editing efficiently and effectively. So now let's move on to the next video in this masterclass.